Fade in, woods seen, night. The night sky is partly cloudy, thus making it dark out in the woods. The moon shines like a beacon as the stars periodically peek out from behind the puffy clouds. The wind blows softly, chilling the campers to the bone. In the distance, a wolf howls, it's fierce. Some call for the others to join the hunt. The only warmth outside comes from the fire built of dry grass and dead wood in the midst of the crowd. Keith sits amongst the rest of the campers, reminiscing about how his wife and child left him all alone with nobody to hold on to. Yes, his life is miserable and the bills stacked a mile high. Luckily, he found this job as a pack leader for the summer. If it weren't for this job, he wouldn't have any idea where he would live next. Ant dining room, evening. Inside of the dining room is filled with a dinner table surrounded by chairs and half-empty plates of food on top of it. An argument takes place between Keith and Sarah. There is a portrait on the wall of the family consisting of Keith, his wife Sarah, and his daughter Aedria.
You know what, Keith? I am getting tired of you not providing for this family. Ever since you lost your job, your broke ass has been sitting around here doing nothing while all of the bills just stack up on us.
Baby, how do you expect for me to just go out and find another job when you know that times are tough out there in the job market? The economy is in a downward spiral, and there aren't many job openings in my career field as a teacher. I have to compete with over 1,000 others for the 11 or so jobs available.
Well, you should have thought about that before you quit the last one. You know that you are supposed to always have another job lined up before you leave, especially when you have got a wife and child depending on you at home.
Keith looks at his wife with a despairing look in his eye. He sighs from the frustration building up within him because everything that she said, he had already gone over in his mind before he brought the bad news home to his family. Next, woods scene night, back to scene. Keith is startled out of his thoughts when a camper asks him a question.
Will you tell us a story, Keith?
No, children, I think that it's time for everyone to go to sleep.
Still thinking about his little girl moving to another state without any of her friends or the life that she once knew. Everything was gone, and just like her father, she had to start anew with all new people. Tyrone gives Keith a little nudge.
Aw, come on, Keith, quit being a party pooper.
Yeah, Keith, why don't you stop being a party pooper and tell us a story?
Yeah, tell us a story, Keith.
Then out of nowhere a chant starts. Crowd chanting story, story, story. With all of the chanting going on, Keith looks around once more, feeling compelled by duty to take the reins and lead the way. House Dawn. The house that they moved into has vacant lots on both sides of it and a small rickety shack for a garage. There is a swing fashioned out of an old tire and chains hanging from the tree in their backyard, a small sandbox next to the deck, and an old doghouse with a sign hanging halfway down that said Sparky on it. The house itself is painted purple with paint chipping away due to the weather. It is a two-story colonial-style home with banisters running across both the upper and lower deck. The banisters are the only things painted white on the whole entire house. Everything else is purple, including the porch. The inside is a different matter. There is dust everywhere with cobwebs hanging in the corners. There is a two-sided grand staircase that leads upstairs. There is a library off to the left of the entry door, a living room in the front to the right, a dining area, a den, a kitchen with a nook, and a half bathroom was located in the middle of the staircase. Upstairs contains 4 bedrooms and a bathroom off towards the back of the house. There is a bridge leading to the front balcony connected to the landing of the grand staircase. There is a pull-down staircase that leads to the attic in the middle of the hallway. It and the basement are both empty. Renee and Margaret clean up the whole house, and then the movers come along and set everything up. A group of neighbors stand around watching them take out the trash. Kitchen. Dawn Renee is preparing breakfast. As the morning light spills into the kitchen, Renee finishes fixing a plate of blueberry pancakes, maple syrup, eggs, sausage patties, and a tall glass of milk that sweats from the chill. She walks out of the kitchen over to the stairs and calls for Margaret to wake up. Renee, as herself, "Margaret, wake up, honey." She waits for an answer and decides to call out again after not hearing anything. Renee as herself, Margaret. The door opens and the sound of padded feet is heard walking down the hallway. Renee smiles to herself knowingly as Margaret heads to the bathroom. She goes back into the kitchen and sets up the table. Margaret uses the bathroom, bathes, brushes her teeth, and then dresses up in a blue jean dress with a pink shirt and pink stockings underneath. She puts on her black shoes with the buckles and heads downstairs towards the kitchen. Upon seeing her mother still in her bathrobe with curlers in her hair, Margaret expresses concern. Margaret as herself. Mummy, don't you have to be at work soon? Renee as herself. Yes, dear, I do have to be at work in a little bit, but I had to get you ready first. Margaret as herself. Then you should go and get ready. I don't want you to be late on your first day. Renee as herself. And I don't want you to be late either. Now eat your food. Being a good little girl, Margaret picks up her utensils and starts eating. When they finished eating, Margaret goes into the library and grabs her book bag. Renee then walks her out on the front lawn, kisses her goodbye, and Margaret gets onto the school bus. Margaret sits down in an empty seat and waves goodbye to her mummy. Night bedroom. A Caucasian little girl, about the age of 10 years old, sits in front of a mirror in her bedroom brushing her hair. Then suddenly, her mother walks in and watches her brush her hair. Tears form in her eyes momentarily, and then a look of anger crosses her face. She then calmly walks over to Amy, runs her fingers through her long blonde hair, and then begins strangling Amy until she dies. Close-up shot of Amy's head hanging limply to her right shoulder, with her eyes still open and mouth hanging open with her tongue sticking out. Amy as herself. Well, my mommy told me that she had a daughter with the same name as mine. Amy. Amy used to be so beautiful that her mother became jealous of her. One day, while Amy was sitting in front of a mirror brushing her hair, her mother came in and strangled her to death while watching her in the mirror. Amy died with her eyes still open, looking at her dead body in the mirror. Is school bus day. Are you sure that you haven't seen any ghost? I ask, because the last family said that they saw her sitting in front of a mirror, brushing her hair. That's when they moved out a couple of years back. Margaret, as herself, yes, I'm sure I haven't seen any ghost. Just then, the bus comes to a halt and Amy leads Margaret to her classroom. She points out the teacher and goes to seat herself. At the house doorway, the scene unfolds gently in the light of day.
Mommy, can Amy spend the night here with us?
I don't know. I think that we will have to speak with her parents about that.
But my mommy already said that I could. See, I already have my clothes packed.
Amy then points to the suitcase with her clothes in it, her eyes hopeful.
Are you sure that your mommy said that you can spend the night over here? I don't want for any problems to arise later on about you being here.
Amy nods her head up and down and gives her a sad puppy dog eye look. Renee then sighs and concedes.
Well, if your mommy says yeah, then I guess that it's okay for you to spend the night.
Amy and Margaret begin jumping up and down, their excitement palpable. Amy and Margaret then run upstairs to put away the suitcases, their laughter echoing through the house. S4, ye! As the evening shadows lengthen in the backyard, Amy, with a curious tilt of her head, halts her swing and hops off. She and Margaret scamper towards the sandbox, a new game in mind. Margaret, Amy, do you have a shadow? Amy, yes, I do. Why? Margaret, then where is your shadow? Amy looks around, puzzled by her missing shadow. Amy, maybe it's because it's getting dark out here. Let's go inside and play with your dolls. They dash around to the front of the house, giggling and breathless. As they head towards the stairs inside, Renee reminds them to wash their hands and come to eat. Inside the dining room, the evening continues with curious conversations. Amy, curiously, Miss Mitchell, why did you buy this house? Renee, because it was in my price range, and it seemed like a great place to live, well, once you clean it up anyway. Amy, well, it is a nice house, but if I were you, I wouldn't have bought this house. Renee, inquiring, and exactly why wouldn't you buy the house? Amy, because it is haunted, that's why. Renee, looking amused, well, I guess that I will have to keep out all of the ghosts then, won't I? Amy, no, I'm serious, this house really is haunted. You see, my mommy told me that she had a daughter with the same name as mine. Amy, Amy was so beautiful that her mother became jealous of her. One day, while Amy was sitting in front of a mirror brushing her hair, her mother came in and strangled her to death while watching her in the mirror. Amy died with her eyes still open, looking at her dead body in the mirror. Renee, laughing, well, that has to be the wildest story that I've heard in my entire life. Amy, well, it's true. Renee, and how long ago did this story take place? Amy, it happened over 50 years ago. Renee? And I suppose that you were alive to see this happen, Amy? It's not funny, Miss Mitchell. This story really did take place. My mommy wouldn't lie to me about something like that, Renee. Well, I'm not calling your mommy a liar or anything like that. It's just that I have been living in this house for over a month and haven't seen anything out of the ordinary yet. Amy, well, if you don't believe me, then you might believe later. I just hope that she doesn't scare us to death or anything like that. Renee, okay, now you're just being ridiculous. Renee notices Amy's untouched plate. Renee, Amy, why haven't you eaten your food, Amy? Because I had already eaten just before I left home. I guess that my mommy wanted to feed me before I left. Renee, okay, well, why don't the two of you go and get ready for bed then while I clean up this mess? Amy and Margaret, in unison. Okay. Amy and Margaret then scamper off towards the stairs, their minds swirling with tales of ghosts and haunted mirrors. In the dimly lit bedroom, Renee tucks the children into bed, planting a gentle kiss on each forehead before leaving the room. The door closes with a soft click, and the room is quiet. Margaret, so when do you think that Amy will appear? Amy, I don't know. But there is a game that people play just to bring her around. Margaret, oh, and what game is that? Amy, it's called Amy Whippoorwill. Margaret, how do you play it? Amy, easy. All you need is a candle and a mirror. Do you have any candles? Margaret, yes, my mommy keeps them in a drawer in the kitchen. Amy, want to play? Margaret, sure, let's go get the candles. They tiptoe down the hallway, sneaking past the den where Renee is absorbed in a television show. They retrieve a candle and matches from the kitchen and hurry back to their room. Amy, come on over to the mirror and light the candle. Margaret, okay, Amy, whispering. Now what we have to do is look into the mirror and say her full name 3 times. Remember, her name is Amy Whippoorwill. Together they chant the name 3 times, but nothing happens. Margaret, whispering, okay, let's try it again. They repeat the chant, but again nothing happens. Margaret, maybe this game doesn't work. Amy, wait, why don't we give it one more try? And if it doesn't work, then we can go to sleep. On their 3rd attempt, the candle suddenly blows out. Margaret, scared. Did you blow out the candle, Amy? Amy, no, I thought you did. They peer into the darkened mirror, seeing only their reflections. Margaret, Amy, quit playing. That's just your reflection in the mirror. Amy, I wouldn't say that if I were you. Margaret, why not? Amy, see, look, there she is right now. Margaret's eyes widen as she sees Amy's reflection begin to change, her features becoming ghostly and pale. Amy, looking pale and ghostly, see, I told you that ghosts were real. Suddenly, Amy lunges at Margaret, her hands reaching out as if to choke her. Margaret screams and awakens in bed, her breath ragged and her heart pounding. She checks on Amy, only to find her lying still, her skin pale and eyes white. Margaret's screams fill the room as she realizes the horror might not just be a dream. In the dark woods, the flicker of the campfire casts eerie shadows as Keith and the campers gather around, the night alive with their tales and laughter. Keith, laughing hard. Don't tell me that you're scared now. Tyrone, man, that was a scary story, especially when you threw the liquor in the fire. That's what set it all off. Camper 1, excitedly. Tell us another story, Keith. Tyrone, yeah, tell us another story, Keith. Nah, it's about time that everybody went to bed. We all got bow shooting lessons in the morning, and after that we will try spearing some fish for lunch. Crowd, sadly, oh. Keith, now come on, let's get to bed. With a mix of reluctance and excitement, the campers unroll their bedrolls and settle down for the night. Keith's stories have stirred their imaginations, leaving a whisper of adventure in the air as they drift off to sleep.